The free writing piece that I'm sharing with you guys today is linked to in the episode notes and can be found on my website at spuntoday.com/free writing. It was posted on the site on December 4th, 2022. And I actually wrote it a couple days ago on December 2nd, 2022, while I was on the train on my way to work. It's an aphorism that I heard mentioned on the podcast, and I had never heard it before. And I used it as a writing prompt to write this free writing piece. And it's called, "Don't Let Perfect Be the Enemy of Good." Here's what I wrote. Perfection is a bitch, isn't it? Is it? I haven't achieved it, so I wouldn't know. But striving for it sure is. I believe one should want and expect their output to be of top-notch quality in whichever field you're producing in. But when your input in terms of work, stress, and opportunity cost far exceeds the quality of your output, something is off. The balance just ain't right. It's at this point that one should recalibrate. How and when did things go so far off the rails? If you're asking yourself that, then you were too bogged down by the process, either by the love or disdain for it. The process draws you in either way. Be conscious of that and remind yourself to zoom out and see where you're at relative to the next goalpost. How do you go about recalibrating once you've determined the what and the why? Very good question. I guess one approach could be outlining your current process. What do you do and for how long? How do you do it? What tools do you use? Then once your SOP, standard operating procedure, is mapped out, start trimming the fat. Analyze each of those individually mapped out components and determine if it's necessary to your process or not. Is it just a bad habit you developed? Can you get from A to Z without negatively impacting the quality of the output? If so, cut it out. If not, consider if there are ways to make efficiency gains within the scope of that facet of your process. And as always, wash, rinse, and repeat often. That's as perfect as you're gonna get. And I wrote that on December 2nd, 2022 at 8:14 a.m. It's a lot of twos in that date. And this is episode 222. Jeez. I like the point that this piece is trying to make, but in reading it again right now, it's definitely written kind of clunky. But on that note, it isn't a polished, edited piece. It's a free writing piece, hence it being within the free writing section of my website. And like most journaling or free association writing, at least for me, it's mainly advice for myself after some introspection. And I've definitely been feeling stagnant in terms of my writing and my output. So I like this piece of like practical advice at the end, which is to view your process as a SOP or a standard operating procedure. And I'm directly borrowing that mentality from my 9 to 5, where a part of what I do is looking for process improvements. And it's within the finance space, so probably as removed from creative as you can get. But I think that systemic approach can be helpful, at the very least in terms of streamlining things and trying to make my process more efficient. And in all this piece's clunky glory, I do like this line a couple sentences in, which is, when your input in terms of work, stress, and opportunity cost far exceeds the quality of your output, something is off. And I think that's an important point, especially like within the creative space, because it's not just input versus output, but also factoring in, or rather it's not just the work that you input versus the output, but the intangible inputs should be factored in as well, like the stress and like the opportunity costs. You know, like for example, those times that you spend an hour or two staring at a blank screen, stressing over this story idea. Could that time have been better spent? Could the opportunity cost of that nothing burger have been better spent if I would have switched gears and recorded a podcast instead? Or re-recorded my stock outro? Or worked on some new background music, etc. Again, going full circle to what we were speaking about before in terms of when that creative thing is not coming out, there's still a ton of ancillary things around your creative pursuits that you could be working on. And that opportunity cost piece of that sentence there definitely speaks to that. And that, folks, is all I have for you on that specific free writing piece. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Again, found at spuntoday.com/free writing.